Outside, the rain corrodes everything, and the temperature drops below freezing. While everyone else struggles to find supplies, our protagonist focuses on exploiting gold diggers, just to stack up more resources in his inventory. We see our protagonist gritting his teeth as he's being held down. While pinned, he angrily demands for his stuff to be handed back. However, the girl refuses, explaining that it's the apocalypse and she needs to stockpile enough resources. But our boy sticks to his guns, still demanding it. This results in him being severely beaten by her simps, and she doesn't forget to stress their differences in status. After teaching him a lesson, the guys don't forget to throw insults you'd normally see on Reddit or in a Call of Duty lobby. But he still isn't backing down. She turns her attention to him. Annoyed, she stomps on his hand with her heels. She expresses how he's born to be a loser, and that just successfully getting her attention was already more than he deserved. Oh, and she doesn't forget to mention that the girl he's chasing is currently dating her brother. This makes our boy mutter her name, Louis, under his breath, silently promising to get back at her. Next, we see clear shock on his face as the system successfully bonds to him, thanks to his resolve. And the more shocking part, bro is given over 900 trillion in resources to use for his revenge. However, he's not sure about the system yet. Not to mention, the system wants him to be a simp after being trashed around. Seeing his misunderstanding, the system reassures him. Bro just needs to lure gold diggers and give them the ultimate slap in the face. Now that's interesting. In addition, any losses he experiences will be converted into similar items in his store, as a newbie bonus. Anyone can tell this system is heaven sent. We can see the clear excitement on his face. With that, his lips curl into a wicked smile. Now getting revenge on the people who wronged him is finally possible. While lost in his thoughts of revenge, our first victim arrives on the scene. The redhead straight up calls our poor guy a beggar, accusing him of trying to scam her, even though he's actually so rich that even Elon Musk would be humbled. Meanwhile, he just ignores her provocation and calmly approaches her. Immediately, he uses the system to materialize an item. Then he happily hands it over to her, which stuns her. She receives it with clear annoyance, but at the same time, the system informs him that her rage points have been converted to system store currency. Apparently, this was just a test to confirm if the system was legit. Immediately after, he hands her a ton of stuff, apologizing and also noting that she's very pretty. Chu Yao is momentarily stunned, resulting in her gaining some affection toward our boy. The system also informs him about the affection level side of things. Basically, if he successfully tames her, everything he spent on her will be returned to him. So in summary, bro has unlimited supplies in an apocalypse. While leaving, he doesn't forget to give her his address and directions to find him. Meanwhile, he gains 20 affection points, and for the first time, she realizes our boy is quite handsome. Shifting back to our boy, the system informs him about the sudden increase in affection and that all resources will be fully refunded. As the elevator opens, he's a bit surprised to see a couple acting up with no care in the world. But for him, this is a great opportunity, because destroying couples will definitely become a hobby. Meanwhile, the couple isn't too happy seeing our boy, asking how he managed to get in the building. Seems like they've got some history. Jinyu immediately fires back, stating the elevator wasn't locked. With that, the guy starts ranting about how our boy is a loser and still trying to get her attention, while Jinyu just scoffs and mocks he instead. Well, he successfully made her furious, gaining rage points in the process. At the same time, he adds fuel to the fire by mocking her cup size, saying it's at A level. Seeing this, she turns to her boyfriend Lu, who tries to calm her down, believing it's best to just ignore him, while Chinyu just keeps racking up rage points. Anyway, Chu Yao arrives and looks surprised. Immediately, the fool is smitten, realizing it's the goddess from the art department. He's excited to finally meet her. But she completely ignores the fool, heading straight for our boy and asking why he came. Seeing this, the fool is petrified, while he desperately tries to get his attention. Meanwhile, our boy is loving the fool's expression. However, he turns his attention to Chu Yao. Apparently, he just arrived and was planning to restock before the apocalypse, which makes her express concern about the recent price surge. Understanding, Chen shakes his head, indicating he doesn't plan on going shopping. However, the bitch knows him to be a broke loser, saying he shouldn't pretend, while the fool is still lost in his thoughts. Then, our boy's lip curls into a smile. He stuns everyone by handing over food supplies to Chuyao. Well, she doesn't need to hunt for supplies when he can provide them, not to mention it's dangerous outside. Still seeing this, demands to know when and how he managed to get such goods. Chen, now in Sigma mode, mocks her, teasing her a bit, saying if she acts all cute, he might consider handing her a candy. This makes her furious and lost for words. But he's not done roasting her. He then asks why someone like her from the broadcast department can't argue properly. Probably because her only talent is receiving backshots at night. Bro successfully pushes a button there, accumulating significant rage value from her. However, he turns his attention to Chuyao. Apparently, the lady offers him to stay at her place, stressing the need for a bodyguard. Well, it seems someone's about to get the back shot. Nonetheless, he agrees, leaving the fool stunned, as our boy was even picky about the room he would stay in. Meanwhile, the system evaluates Yi's rage points, converting them to credits and noting the increase in Chuyao's affection. At this point, it almost feels like our boy is exploiting a system mod. Anyway, inside, Chuyao grows curious, asking if he used magic to summon the items. Since he can't explain, he just rolls with it. Suddenly, she reduces the distance between them. Well, no surprise at this point, and asks if his previous actions were an attempt to win her over. Well, he doesn't answer directly. So, he quickly ends the conversation, deciding to cook something instead. We can see it's the first time someone has actually resisted her, which makes her more interested. Somewhat, Chen is a bit concerned about the pace things are heading. Just then, a broadcast reports a sudden drop in temperature with huge winds, advising citizens to be cautious. For some reason, people are aware of the coming apocalypse, and our boy predicts there'll be a power outage followed by internet breakdowns and mutations. Speaking of which, the water stops, followed by the power outage. Now the waifu is worried about the blackout. Apparently, the main event hasn't even started yet. At the same time, there was knocking on the door, someone claiming to be from the neighborhood committee doing an inspection. Chuyao was already about to open the door before our boy intervened. She showed a confused expression, noting it was a regular routine done every month, which made our boy remind her that it's only been half a month. Still, the girl was too slow to realize something was fishy and believed it was related to the power outage, prompting our boy to tease her, asking if she thought they were in a college dorm. This made her pout in annoyance, eventually gaining rage value for our boy. Chen then reached for a knife, pointing out that issues about residents should be handled by property management, not the neighborhood committee. Meanwhile, the fools outside grew impatient, demanding that the door be opened. Our boy then checked through the door hole, and based on what he saw, his suspicions were confirmed. To our surprise, our boy casually explained they were being intimate, basically telling the guys to get lost. To think the disaster was just beginning, but people were already starting to act up. This successfully enraged the group outside, clearly frustrated by the straight-up lie. Just then, our boy felt uneasy, seemingly sensing danger. He quickly advised Chuyao to stay back, not wanting her to get in the way. At the same time, he was momentarily distracted by the sudden increase in affection value. The next moment, the door was violently kicked open. Chuyao was a bit frightened, while our boy quickly formulated a plan. However, before anything could happen, the group spotted food on the table, which was apparently their primary objective. Chen tried to stop them from taking it, but the group seemed indifferent, even willing to send them to the next life. Well, it seems they're the ones who ended up visiting their ancestors. Everyone was shocked as one fool's throat was easily cut open. Next, our boy shot a cold glare, daring the rest to act as they wished to die. Apparently, the guys were hesitant to move, only showing off and throwing tantrums. Immediately, our boy switched expressions, apologizing for the accident, and offering them food as wasted no time collecting the food while expressing their annoyance. They let their guard down, unaware of what was about to happen next. Immediately, our boy charged toward the first fool, sending him off to the afterlife. He quickly stepped back to evade the fool's companion's strike. Even after killing 2 people, our boy remained calm and unfazed, while Chuyao looked like she was about to lose it. Seeing this, the remaining fool gritted his teeth. He wasn't planning on falling for another cheap trick. Next, the fool was caught off guard as our boy casually revealed his power of summoning, immediately seizing the opportunity to end the guy as a consequence of letting his guard down. Meanwhile, Chuyao felt her legs weaken, seeing him kill like it was a normal thing. Seeing her so agitated, our boy reassured her. Bro even managed to raise her up a bit, telling her that if she wanted to scream, he could make her do it all night. At the same time, the system calculated her rage level and added it to his credit balance. From his inventory, he discovered he now had food, daily necessities, and also stuff he had given to Chuyao, which normally shouldn't be shareable. The system confirmed his thoughts, stating that his credit balance would be deducted. I'm certain this system has many surprises, but eventually, we'll learn more. But before that, our boy was interrupted by Chuyao, who was concerned about being arrested, but our boy reminded her it's the apocalypse. Clearly, only a fool would be worried about that now. Just as he tried to think of a way to deal with the bodies, the people he least expected showed up. Our boy understands their intentions, so he doesn't mind sending more people to meet their ancestors. As he approaches with his knife, the group cowers in fear, asking if he isn't afraid of the police, while he's gaining points in the process. Before the guy could rant further, our boy silences him with a kick to his little guy. However, he steps in, pointing out that they're neighbors and should help each other, not to mention, our boy can't possibly watch them die. Meanwhile, the psycho remains indifferent. Hearing this bitch talking about being righteous in the middle of an apocalypse was something that immediately causes her to be infuriated, because if it weren't for the apocalypse, she wouldn't even be giving him face. Our boy is just taking his time farming points from her. He states that they shouldn't pretend to be righteous. After all, they're after his supplies. If they need it, then they should just beg for it. But that's the last thing on their minds, successfully making their blood boil. With that, the fool who lost his future jewels orders his lackeys to teach our boy a lesson. At the same time, Chuyao is ready to smack some sense into any fool, with her shoe, like that's going to do anything. Suddenly, our boy moves in a flash, successfully dealing with the 2 like it was nothing. Now he turns his attention to the remaining ones, who are sweating their balls, staring down at the fool. The guy mutters something before trying to defend himself, like didn't he see how easily our boy dealt with his 2 lackeys? Our boy just simply ends him, clearly irritated, before he could even act. With that, Chen gives him a send-off, promising to take good care of his sister and his girlfriend. Now he is scared stiff, watching the fool's body drop to the ground like trash. Immediately, her attitude goes through a baptism, claiming she was wrong and how everything was just a test. But our boy just demands she leaves immediately. Letting her go, Chuyao curiously asked if he still had feelings towards Yi, and more importantly, how he planned to deal with the mess. Our boy replied dismissively and believed it was best to toss the bodies out the window, since it would definitely serve as a warning in case anyone else wanted to cause trouble. As for Yi, where could from a better rage farm? Let's shift to Lin's sister. Her lackeys were concerned about their limited supplies before the apocalypse, but she reassured them, trusting that her brother would provide. Just then, their discussion was interrupted by someone screaming about raining dead bodies. At the same time, she caught sight of her brother's lifeless body falling from the building. Her face instantly drained of color, and she was petrified as his blood splattered. Her lackeys were stunned to see that it was actually her brother, Lin, as she let out an ear-piercing scream. Unable to comprehend what was happening or why he was the one raining bodies before the apocalypse, she instantly fainted. Meanwhile, after dealing with the bodies, Chuyao asked our boy about their next step. However, there was no rush. He decided to eat first. At the same time, the system summed up all the rage points collected and converted them into credits. It also informed him about unlocking the mall function once he hit 200k credits. Meanwhile, Chen served him, which caught her by surprise. Apparently, it was the first time she had been treated like this, and she couldn't help but notice his gentle side toward her. When he didn't join her, he explained that he just wasn't in the mood. Well, he decided to make plans in advance before the apocalypse fully arrived. At the same time, he gained 40 affection points, which the system evaluated into credits and refunded on meal expenses. Finally, the system mall was unlocked at that exact moment. Which was perfect, because that's when he ran into Lin's sister. Poor girl still hadn't woken up. One of the lackeys was already annoyed just seeing our boy. He walks up to him, while our boy shows a smug expression, like if the guy doesn't know who he was talking to. But in the next moment, the fool receives a desired slap after insulting Chenyu's mom. Now stomped on, the fool. Well, our boy had been wanting this so badly that he spent 100k credits just to boost his physical strength. The Baldy is stunned by the sheer power. Not long ago, Chenyu was just a fool they could sweep the ground with. At least he's sharp enough to adapt, pleading for mercy and begging for help because they desperately need supplies to survive the apocalypse. However, Chenyu is still a bit annoyed by the fool for insulting his mom, while the bald guy can only apologize on his friend's behalf, promising to do anything in return. Hearing this, Chenyu grows interested. Meanwhile, the fools are sweating their balls. Imagine if our boy had some weird fetishes. But they're relieved when he simply demands answers about the power outage. The guys point at the fools, noting they were the ones responsible and that it was all a setup to steal supplies. Satisfied by their cooperation, Chenyu orders them to fix the power and bring in Lin Bei Wei, promising them shelter from the cold. Let's skip a few moments. Everyone's chilling while Lin Bei Wei slowly regains consciousness. The first thing she does is demand to know where they are. And she's even more interested in knowing where they got beef noodles. Only to be shocked when she discovers it was our boy, casually sitting there like some mafia boss. Frustrated to the point veins are visible, she asks why they're addressing Chenyu as big brother just because of a bottle of noodles. But there's nothing the guys can do. Anyway, Chenyu offers her a bowl, but she refuses like some spoiled kid, feeling like he's only doing it because of E and her brother. Our boy simply replied with a simple, "Oh," and continued his meal, making her furious, gaining 336 rage points at once. Thinking he has found his number one supporter, she can only vent her frustration on one of her lackeys. Astonishing enough, she actually demands our boy to prepare a bowl for her and feed her while on his knees if he doesn't want her brother wrath. First, he calmly keeps his bowl of noodles on the table, before tossing her out of the apartment like trash. He shuts the door, while Chu Yao expresses concern about the freezing cold outside. But that's our boy's least concern. The lady needs a reality check. After all, she was the one who bullied him at the beginning. Meanwhile, Lin Bei Wei can't understand how our boy turned Sigma, refusing to feed her and even kicking her out. Just then, her expression stiffens, feeling the drop in temperature. With that, she begins banging on the door, demanding our boy open up, saying she will also consider not telling her brother. However, that's when our boy drops the bombshell that her so-called brother was dead. She clearly remembers one of the bodies was her brother, but she only decided not to be convinced. Then she accuses Chenyu of lying. Well, at that point he suggests she see for herself. Still, she refuses, remaining stubborn like your Wi-Fi when you desperately need it. Thankfully, he offers her shelter from the cold. And Chu Yao grew worried seeing this and informs our boy. Seeing this was the apocalypse and they could potentially harbor hatred, he thinks of his next move. The lackey, seeing this, pleads for her sake. With that, he agrees. After all, where else can he farm rage points for his system? Next, the door slowly creaks open. He comes face to face with the two ladies. His ex sees this as an opportunity, now desperate for his help. While our boy remains cold and indifferent, Lin Bei Wei is shocked by the scene. She furiously demands her not kneel before someone as pathetic as our boy just for a pack of noodles. But the girl just shoves her aside, leaving her in utter shock. She continuously pleads while tugging on his shirt, realizing her mistake. She's even ready to be his dog. Chinyu remains cold, clearly disgusted by her remarks. However, she grows irritated hearing Lin Beiwei rant about them being capable of getting supplies. Furious, she points at the freezing temperature outside. How could they possibly survive, let alone get supplies? She was so blind for choosing her brother over our boy. Also, if it weren't for her brother's money, she wouldn't have even considered him in the first place. Now that's a serious bombshell. She shamelessly accuses them, calling both siblings trash of society, and saying they deserve to die. Seeing this, our boy decides to intervene. Literally, bro is just enjoying farming points easily. Next, he shows 2 fingers, indicating his conditions. Firstly, he wants nothing to do with the gold digger, leaving her frustrated. And as for Lin Beiwei, he wouldn't mind helping her despite her previous attitude. After all, he was the one who ended her brother. The only condition is that she needs to submit. Her blood pressure shoots up as she swears to kill our boy, gaining him 574 rage points. Our boy just shuts the door in her face, leaving her to reflect for a while, also gaining rage points from her in the process. Meanwhile, Chinyu notes, she really has a huge temper. At the same time, he's in awe of the rage points evaluation, amounting to 400k credits. Excitedly, he can't get enough of slapping them across the face. Meanwhile, his 2 subordinates look on with concern, wondering if he's lost his mind or something. But our boy is too hyped to care. He even pulls out beers from his space like it's party time. Then, out of nowhere, another power outage hits, stunning everyone. Chu Yao starts wondering who's messing with the electricity, while the guys panic. They didn't prepare any warm clothes and might freeze. Our boy, however, thinks it's just the freezing temperatures messing with the power. Naturally, he turns to Chu Yao for help with warm clothing, only to find out she only kept in-season outfits, and tossed all the out-of-season clothes in the trash. Shocked, he immediately calls on the system shop for a solution. But he's hit by an access denied due to low credit balance. His expression sours instantly, and he snaps at Chu Yao, calling her stupid for treating the wardrobe like it was just for decoration. Apparently, our guy now plans to farm rage points fast. But Chu Yao doesn't back down. She claps back, asking why anyone would need warm clothes in the middle of summer. That sets off a heated argument, which conveniently helps him rack up those rage points. Watching the quarrel unfold, the subordinates grow even more worried, wondering if the cold is messing with their heads. Without missing a beat, Chu Yao lashes out at them too, calling them fools with the brain size of an ant. Okay, maybe not the best method moving forward, but hey, mission accomplished. With enough rage points in the bag, our boy finally accesses the shop. However, she wasn't done expressing her frustration, while our boy was more focused on pressing matters. But she was stunned the next moment, seeing the guy laughing menacingly. At the same time, the power came back on, brightening the atmosphere. Our boy felt reassured by the system's power supply for half a year, but he wasn't done yet. Bro actually dropped an advert. Anyone who wants revenge should visit his apartment. It worked. He actually became the enemy of the entire neighborhood, enraging everyone. He gained multiple rage points in the process. He was clearly thrilled at the prospect of racking up points, while his subordinates gossiped behind his back, thinking he had brain issues. However, their painful remarks made him feel a bit sick. Regardless, he was shocked to discover he actually accumulated 8k rage points in one go. The guys just watched him act like he was on top of the world, confirming that he definitely had brain issues. Well, our boy wasn't the least bit concerned and decided they should have beef soup. Chu Yao could literally feel her head spinning. But the next moment, a group of people were at the door, demanding our boy open it, and even threatening to smash it. The group was cautious since there were only 4 of them, while our boy remained calm. However, our boy assured them not to worry. He was skilled in many different fields. Leading Baldy to explain to the confused guy, Apparently, the skills seemed like something straight out of a video game. Let's shift outside. The lady wondered why our boy was acting up earlier, but now was afraid to come out. They threatened to smash his power box. Meanwhile, our boy, peeking through the peephole, was surprised to see that it was actually the internet celebrity, Sunshiner. So, he casually invited them to try, addressing her lackey and telling him to go wild to his heart's content. Sunshiner asked if he had a death wish, while her lackey accused him of bluffing. To his shock, our boy just handed him a sledgehammer. He invited the fool to try once more, leaving him speechless. Enraged, he smashed the power box with all his might. At that same moment, the power went out. Seeing this, the fool began throwing tantrums and insults. However, this was exactly what our boy wanted. As he activated the system's repair function, the power box instantly repairs itself, leaving the group in complete disbelief. Shinyu sees this and mocks the guy for being weak. In response, the guy makes sure to completely destroy the power box this time. Satisfied, he smirks, waiting to see how it fixes itself, only to be absolutely stunned the very next second. Now, Shinyu shifts his attention to the influencer, mocking her taste in men as pathetic. Infuriated, the guy changes targets. He's now aiming to take Shinyu down first. But thanks to the system enhancement, our boy effortlessly dodges the attack. Next, the fool sacrifices his family's jewelry. Since we don't even know his name, let's just call him the Prince of Emptiness. Meanwhile, Sunshiner fumes, thinking he won't last long with that cocky attitude. That sets off our boy, who fires back with an overly dramatic line, making her even angrier. Then suddenly, he reveals his infinite supplies, and says he doesn't need to be one of her simp followers. Now, he gives her a chance to dance for him. It wasn't exactly mentioned. But hey, anything's possible, right? However, she snaps back, not understanding why someone as useless as him has such abilities. To this, our boy just summons a bunch of eggs. To their horror, they were rotten, and our boy's lackey baptized the group with them. This increased Sunshiner's rage points. Well, the number was a bit suspicious as the older simps tried to defend her, only to be silenced by an entire basket of rotten eggs. With that done, he decided to head back inside. Seeing this, Sunshiner's annoyance grew to another level. She even promised to sleep with anyone who could deal with him. Inside, Chu Yao shows concern about the continued banging on the door, but it was pointless since our boy had secretly reinforced it. Next, our boy shifts his focus to the system, with the rage points converted. It was stunned to have unlocked a new feature. Not long after, it began raining, and Chu Yao notes it was acid rain. Our boy thinks it's the best time to head out, and one of the lackeys is already itching to follow him. With that, our boy hands him a protective jacket while the guy rambles on about a secret mission. However, Shinyu shuts the idea down, advising the fool to lay off anime. Upon opening the door, they are surprised to see Sunshiner. But our boy was indifferent, shoveling her aside like she was nothing. At the same time, she gritted her teeth in frustration. Someone as insignificant as him was acting tough? Apparently, she still believed her million followers could help her. Even worse, the Prince of Emptiness is sucking up to our boy, pointing out that everything was all Sunshiner's idea. Seeing her call him a bastard, he delivers a reality check. And let's face it, our boy isn't someone you should go against in the apocalypse. Hearing this, she starts making basic demands like food and shelter, and says she'll consider forgiving him. However, our boy just gives her, this time a painful reality check. Something her parents clearly failed to do. Holding her red cheek, she's irritated that our boy resorted to hitting her, still stressing that she's a huge influencer. Meanwhile, our boy ignores her and continues delivering free slaps. To our surprise, she doesn't back down, now claiming our boy is using reverse psychology to get her attention. While the Prince of Emptiness keeps sucking up to him, even expressing his loyalty. Our boy simply ignores the fool. Simply put, never trust someone who betrays easily. Not long after, he spots Lin Beiwei shivering from the cold. His lackey tends to her while she admits her mistake. At the same time, the system informs him that her favorability is at 0. So, he orders the guide to take her in, while thinking how cliched the scene is, clearly seeing through her pretenses. Outside, the acid rain is slowly corroding anything it lands on. Meanwhile, our boy walks slowly, wondering if it's still possible to get his package from the delivery station. Suddenly, someone calls out to him. Seeing this, anyone could tell, it's a honey trap, even if the setup is a bit poor. Understanding this, Chen plays along, even suggesting they talk somewhere else. However, the lady immediately pulls out a knife, instructing him to take off his clothes. Being dramatic, he asks her what he's supposed to do if he hands her his clothes, only making her even more pissed. Knowing this wasn't going anywhere good, he casually takes off his jacket. However, she only grows more irritated, pointing out that she wouldn't even be talking to someone like him if it weren't for the coat. The next moment, his lips curl into a smile. At the same time, the jacket dematerializes like it's some kind of matrix trick. With this, Chen considers helping her, but only if she begs for it. She can't process how the jacket just disappeared like that. So this time, she decides to use force, noting that our boy isn't even worth her time. Only for him to easily dodge and disarm her like it was nothing. With that, he reminds her about her previous remark. Making her acknowledge him, he's skilled, but adds that he'll still remain a bottom feeder during the apocalypse. She stresses that without resources, he's just a person, or more like a number. If that's the case, he can simply gather them. With that said, she offers him a job at the hospital, in exchange for 2 noodles since he wasn't handing over the jacket. Our boy is slightly pissed by the offer. However, she has no idea, even highlighting their differences and throwing some insults. Well, our boy isn't one of those protagonists who just takes insults from annoying ladies. Meanwhile, she can't understand how she was hit by a lowlife. Enraged, she decides to probably sweeten the deal. But our boy isn't the least bit interested, even kicking her while she's down. Then she curses him out of frustration, promising revenge, leading him to reveal his address and will be waiting for her. The system also notes that he gained 886 rage points at the same time. Let's skip to him returning from the delivery office. This time, Sun Shiner's attitude has done a complete 180, even clinging tightly to his leg. His 2 subordinates chime in. One notes that she's not bad, while the other hopes to get her after he is done with her. However, he turns his attention toward her. She expresses loyalty, saying she doesn't mind giving him privates, and even at night. However, our boy just wants her to listen to him from now on. Now entering his apartment, she's excited, even calling him Big Brother. Then, he gains affection points and, as usual, anything spent on her will be refunded. At the same time, the system evaluates the previous rage points, converting them to credit balance, now sitting at 2 million. Well, the amount of credit wasn't an issue. So the next category to be unlocked was supernatural fruit. Just then, Chu Yao felt apprehensive about the package, while our boy as usual, replies in a teasing tone. Flustered by his remarks, she storms out complaining, asking if he thinks she'll marry him, leaving our boy utterly dumbstruck. At the same time, his subordinates chime in, but our boy just orders them to leave, wanting to be left alone. Before he could say anything, his friend immediately pulls him off. At the same time, there's a huge bang on the door. The person outside furiously demands that our boy come out immediately. Now the group wonders, who did he piss off this time? Feeling a headache coming on, he can only sigh helplessly. However, he brushes off the matter, seeing it's the perfect time for drinks. This results in admiration from the guys. Even Sun Shiner is willing to put on a show for the night. Though she didn't say it outright, it still might happen. Now the guys are so excited, they start drooling on the spot. Well, it's surprising she managed to become a top influencer. However, Chu Yao, seeing his expression, felt apprehensive about leaving someone outside who might make a scene and disturb the neighbors. But his reply stunned her. He was dissatisfied, noting how annoying she could be sometimes. He successfully made her enraged. With that, he decided to deal with the fool who was continuously banging on the door, only to be stunned by a rifle pointed at him. It's the nameless lady from before, now threatening to blow off his head. On the other hand, Chinyu was unfazed. Rather than being annoyed, he offered her two choices. First, try to kill him, which was kind of impossible since he's the protagonist, and second, you guessed correctly, join him. However, this lady is as stubborn as your Wi-Fi when you need it. A bit annoyed by her provocation, like, who offers shelter and food for free in the middle of an apocalypse? With that, he shut the door right in her face. Apparently, after contemplating her choices, she finally agreed to join his harem. Sorry, his shelter. When he opens the door, she just shoves him aside, not interested in whatever he was about to say. However, she is stunned seeing the noodles they prepared actually have beef. From her thoughts, we learn only people at the top can experience such luxury. Seeing this, Sun Sheener cuddles up to him. Noticing her reaction, he helplessly decides to make something for her too. With that, she exclaimed like a kid, noting her big brother cares for her the most. Shifting to the lady, we learn her name is Lin, and during their conversation, Chu Yao asks the reason she's heading to the hospital. However, to this, she immediately gets up, citing the importance of reaching the hospital before dawn. Meanwhile, our boy is busy whipping something up for Sun Sheener, only to be pulled by the ear by Miss Lin, stressing the need for him to accompany her. Before leaving, he puts Chu Yao in charge of everything until he returns. Seeing them depart, she waves, wishing them luck. However, Lin Beiwei highlights that it's highly unlikely. With someone like our boy, it's the fool facing him who needs the luck. Let's shift outside. Miss Lin asks if that trash bike is what they're riding. For some reason, he finds it amusing, claiming the bike could handle any road. This makes her furious, asking if he's brain dead, pointing out the dead battery, and saying it would be a miracle if it even starts. If only she knew our boy had already gotten that covered by the system. With a serious expression, he asks a ridiculous question. This causes her to knock some sense into him. Our boy, holding his swollen cheek, didn't expect her to hit so hard. Just as she began feeling like a fool for trusting our boy. She is stunned to see the bike actually work, while our boy insists she hop in. While on the way, Miss Lin grew curious as to why the bike wasn't corroding due to the acid rain. Chinyu replied sarcastically, asking if she was blind not to see the bike was coated with a special material. Fuming, she complained, noting it's not like she's some Albert Einstein to figure that out. Regardless, she felt moved by him, believing that at the pace things were heading, her father could be saved. Immediately, the system informed her about a sudden increase in affection points and the usual refunds. It also evaluated all the rage value to his credit. This time, Chinyu wished to upgrade her rifle. She showed a surprised expression, not expecting he possessed such ability. Let's skip to the hospital. Miss Lin, being polite, introduced herself wishing to visit the hospital. But the guard immediately refused, stating that no one was allowed into the building. However, he crossed the line when he addressed her as a parasite, judging from her outfit. Chinyu grew irritated by the way the fool was ranting and insulting his girl. After all, he had invested points to unlock the weapon upgrade skill just for her. However, the fool still remained arrogant, unaware of what might happen next. Immediately, our boy silenced the guard permanently, cursing the guy for ranting nonsense non-stop.